What's going on, my dudes? This is Mr. Gardner, and this is Math Time with Mr. G. This is to help us for our big scary test. It's going to be a long video, but the idea is that you fast forward to the units that you need a quick refresher on, and after that refresher, if you still don't get it, go back to previous test review videos, and if you don't get it after the previous test review videos, that's the section that you study for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute, combine like terms, and then solve for x. All right, for my number line, I combine like terms, and then solve for x. I'm going to have a negative, and when I divide by a negative to both sides with inequality, remember that my sign flips. This is going to be an open dot because it's just less than. There's no or equal to, and I'm going to shade everything that I want. A soccer club president is ordering t-shirts for each of its club's 15 members. The cost will be $45 for the design. That means no matter how many shirts we buy, it's $45. That's the cost of each additional shirt and has a budget of $145. Here's the cost of each shirt. What type of shirts could he afford in their budget? So that means $45 no matter what, plus $15 per the shirt cost needs to be less than or equal to our budget. So next I'm just going to subtract 45 from both sides, divide by 15 to see what our budget is per shirt. So my cost for the shirt can be equal to $6 or anything less than. So that means a tank top is good, a short sleeve is good, and a long sleeve is good. The only thing that's out of budget is a sweatshirt. To graph, this is where I begin. This is my slope, and I have to have it in fraction form. This is saying go down 3 to the right 1. Which equation of the line that goes through these 2 points? So I'm going to start with my slope equation and plug in my x1, y1, x2, y2. So now that I have my slope, I can go to my slope-intercept equation, and then I plug in either one of these points in for x and y. I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to solve for b. Now that I have b, I can put it all together for my equation. All right, write all 3 forms. That means point slope, slope-intercept, and standard form for a point and a slope. So I'm going to start with point slope form because that's what they gave us and work from there. And as a reminder, in standard form, my a has to be a whole number and positive. So I'm going to multiply everything by -2. They give us in standard, we just have to find the x and y intercepts. To find the x-intercept, I put y as 0, and then solve for x, and then the opposite for the y-intercept. The teacher has $75 to spend on paint sets and marker sets. The paint sets cost $375 and the marker sets equal $125 each. What's the greatest number of marker sets the teacher could purchase? So for this case, the paint set is just to distract us. Then it's just 75 divided by $1.25, 60. Right, Jose needs to build 15 birdhouses for a class project. It takes 20 minutes to build each birdhouse. The number of minutes it takes Jose to build each house is a function of the number. What is the domain and range of this function? 20 minutes per birdhouse. So y represents time and x represents birdhouses. My domain is my x values. As we're not going to measure half a birdhouse, we're only measuring complete birdhouses. My domain is going to be 1, 2, all the way to 15. And range could be anywhere between 0 time, and then if I was to do all 15 birdhouses, that'd be 20 times 15 or 300. So it could be anywhere between 0 and 300 minutes. The point -12n, and then this order function, what's the value of n? Let's plug those in and solve. All right, the graph below represents the amount of profit in dollars a company expects to make from selling bracelets. How much money will they make if they sell 400 bracelets? So I'm going to start with my B term, and that is at -6. And then I have to look for a perfect place in which our line in question crosses a coordinate point, and I see it right there. So that means I went up 5/2. And to sell bracelets, bracelets is X, Y is the amount of money we're going to make. So I'm going to plug in 400 here. So multiplying this, I get 1,000 minus 6. So my answer is A. All right, which of the following would be a reasonable trend line for this scatter plot? My B term is going to be at +3. So that means B and A are off the table. And then this has to go up 2/3, which goes right through our data, versus this one says going up 3/1, which doesn't hit any of our data. All right, exercise program begins the first week for 30 minutes of exercise each day. And then each week you add 5 minutes to that workout. Which one of these represents that information? Well, if we just think of it plainly, our first week is going to be 30 minutes. And our second one is going to be 30 plus 5 minutes, so 35. So when I plug in 1 to these equations, I should get 30. And when I plug in 2, I should get 35. So F says for the first week, do 30 minutes. Then multiply 5 minutes times what day it is for every day that is the second day or greater. So let's plug in 2 for N. So that means 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. That doesn't get us to 35. So F is off the table. All right, this says for every day, do 5 minutes of exercise plus 30. So if I were to put 1 in there, that would mean 5 times 1 plus 30, which gets me to 35. I should have gotten 30 for my first day. So that's off the table. And this says for every week, do what you did last week plus 5 minutes, and the first week start with 30. Well, that's what this says. So that's good. This says do 5 minutes of workout plus 30 minutes times what week it is. So let's put in 1 again. So 30 times 1 plus 5 is 35. And that doesn't give us our 30. So that's off the table. This says start with 25 minutes of workout plus 5 minutes times what week it is. So if I were to put 1 in, 5 times 1 is 5 plus 25 is 30. So that works. Let's plug in 2 just to make sure that that works. So 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 25 is 35. So that works. And then J and K are the same thing, just rewritten in order. And this says terms of N. This says functions of N, which is the same thing. Start with 30 minutes. Then every week, do what you did last week plus 5 minutes. A system with no solutions. That means they're parallel. So that means anything with the same slope and then a different y-intercept. Infinite solutions means that it is the exact same line. And then one solution is any line that crosses the line in question. We're going to multiply this top one by 4 and then cross out and cancel. I know that the question doesn't ask us to find y, but let's pretend it did. We would go back, plug it in for x, and solve for y. So where did these two lines cross? They cross at the point 3, -1. So you invite some friends over to watch a movie, popcorn, which would cost $2.50 per person, or candy, which is $1.75 per person. A total budget of $17.75 for those 8 people coming over. Which system represents correctly? $2.50, that's talking about money. $1.75 is also talking about money, but this is 8 people. So money, money, people. So let's go to B. This says money, people, money. That doesn't make sense. This says money minus money equals people. That doesn't make sense. This says money plus money is equal to money. People plus people is equal to people. All right, 2 different families bought general admission tickets to the Reno Aces baseball game. One family said that it cost them this much for 6 adults, 2 children, and this amount for 3 adults and 4 children. So I'm just going to make a system of equation and then solve for the ticket price. So now that I found the cost of children, I'm going to go back, plug it in, and solve for the cost of an adult. So now that I have the cost of an adult and cost of a child, the question said, how much more does an adult ticket cost than a child's? So I'm just going to subtract the cost of the two, and it's $2.50 more. All right, Taddy has $100 to spend on clothes. Shorts cost this much, tank tops cost this much. What combinations could she buy? So it's going to be, I said, $12.50 per short plus $6.50 per tank top. Has to be less than or equal to her budget. So if I were to say I bought nothing but shorts, that means 0 tank tops, I would get, so that means that at most shorts she could have is 8, which means that B is off the table because it stops at 16, and D is off the table. So then I look at A and C, and it says less than. Less than means shade under the line. So A can't be it. So it must be C. Jess wants to plant some peach trees and some apple trees. The most he can fit on his property is 9 trees. Here's the cost of each one and his budget. So I'm just going to create a system of equations. Now that I have my system of equations, because apple for this equation is on the y-axis, I'm going to make y equals mx plus b. So I'm just going to subtract to get a all by itself. So I subtracted 60 and then divide by 75, and that's where I got these numbers. So if I were to graph these, this would say at 9 and 8. Now it says at 9 go down 1 over 1. Okay? And then it says shade everything below it. Below, 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 below. So C is the only one that doesn't work, so we get rid of that one. Also below. This is above the line, and this is also above the line. So those are off the table. So A is the combinations of the trees that we could buy with the budget that we could afford. Given this graph, which are true, the function increases over the intervals of 0 to 6. And we read left to right, that's going down, so that can't be it. The rate of change from -8 to -2 is up 1 over 2. Yep, so that's good. Domain, that means from left to right, is all row numbers. That's true. And if it's all row numbers, it can't be limited. The range is all row numbers, so that means all the way down for forever. That's true. And then up for forever. Nope, it stops right here, so that can't be it. Range is anything smaller than 0. 0 down, so that's true. And then if it has a rate of 1/2, it cannot be -2, so that's off the table. And then positive 1/2 would mean that it opens up, so that's not it. Our equation should have looked something like -1/2 absolute value of x. All right, which piecewise function is represented in this graph? So this says an open dot at 1 and everything less than. So without even looking at the graph, this can't be it because this is only open dots. Closed dot at 1 and less than. So that's true. So that's on the table. This says closed dot at 1 and greater than. So that's not it. So that's off the table. And this says closed dot at 1 and greater than. So just using a single dot, I didn't have to look at anything else, and I found out it's B. All right, during the weekends, Jody likes to babysit for a maximum of 7 hours. For the first 3 hours, she has this rate, and then for anything more than 3 hours, she has this rate. So let's create a graph for that situation. From 0 hours to 3 hours, she charges $5 per hour. And then from 3 hours to 7 hours, because that's her maximum, she charges $30 no matter what. So that means the price limits from here are 0 to $15, because 3 times 5 is 15. And then if she jumps up the next window, it's going to be $30 no matter what. All right, good luck, you guys. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments section. But other than that, be kind to each other, ask lots of questions, and think deeply.